We've got a stat that really matters heading into March Madness. Take a look at this. 24 of the last 25 men's national championship winners have been top 21 in offensive efficiency and top 31 in defensive efficiency. The only team that won it over the last 25 years that wasn't a part of this was UConn 2014. Weird year. They were a 7 seed. Shabazz Napier went nuts. But there you see the 8 teams that fit that mold this season. Some of the teams you would 100% expect, like Duke, like Auburn, like Houston. Some others you might be a little bit surprised about, like Wisconsin, like Clemson. Let's get into it with Mackenzie Brooks from Sportsline. Why is that metric, when you put offense and defense together? I get it. Easy to say, well, if you're good on offense and defense, you're pretty good. But why is this specifically such an important stat?
I mean, you're looking at the teams at the top here, like the Dukes and the Auburns and the Houstons, that are literally top 10 in both. I mean, think about like a report card. You're getting a 92% in math and a 95% in reading. Like, having that full circle is obviously important, but this shows that these teams have strong margins of victory no matter where they go, typically home and road. Like, this is a team that will outscore you in any type of situation, and that obviously is due to their offense and their defense. But again, having that heavy margin of victory is the most important. You look at some of these, like, Wisconsin, what are they doing here? Arizona, what are they doing here? These are teams that are pretty likely one bad game away from falling out of one of these metrics. Like, Wisconsin's they're one bad defensive game away from being here. Arizona is an interesting team to me because, yes, they fit that metric, but we also haven't seen a West Coast team win since '97 when it was Arizona. So I don't like to claim that being a West Coast team takes you out of that mold. However, we haven't really seen it yet.
Yeah, it's been a long time since they've even made the Final Four. 2001, the last time Arizona made the Final Four. Let's talk about teams that are on Jerry Palm's one line that fit this bill. And there are 3 of them right now: Auburn, Duke, and Houston. I think most would agree those are the 3 best teams in college basketball right now. Which one of those teams has the best metrics?
Duke, you're looking at top 2 in offensive efficiency, top 4 in defensive efficiency. Like, this is when you see clean basketball teams as well. They're winning the turnover advantages and things like that, the rebounding advantage as well. Now, we do say that they are the best in offense and defense. However, they are playing in the ACC. They're not going through that SEC gauntlet, so you have to give some props to Auburn here to be top 10, number 1 in offense, and then you have 14 in defense in the SEC, where everybody is just banging up on each other. Same with Houston playing in the Big 12 now that you have some of those Pac-12 teams coming over like Arizona. So yes, Duke technically is the best here, but we have to remember the strength of schedule we're looking at with this.
You mentioned Wisconsin. Right now they are on Jerry Palm's 2 line, and some might be surprised to see them there because when we've seen them make runs in the past, it's been well, not really running or sprinting. It's been plodding, grinding, winning games 50-42, but they are a good offensive team as well.
Yes, they are a great offensive team, but it is that defense. To me, Wisconsin is a team where they're so good at about everything, but they're not elite, right? This isn't like some explosive team. They remind me a lot of Penn State football, where nobody really wants to give them their flowers for what they were doing and what they were putting up statistically, but they just don't have that elite, championship caliber to me. Although they are in the championship mold right now, I just think they are, they could be one game outside of it and we won't really be thinking about this team anymore.
Let's jump down to a team that I'm intrigued by, and it's Texas Tech. They're on the 4 line. I love what they've been doing. I love their coach, Grant McCasland. Is Jerry Palm undervaluing them as a 4 seed right now, you think?
I think he is, because I think with the championship mold, which has a lot to do with Jerry Palm, is correct. I think there's also the fact that this is an experienced team. This is a team that travels, and that becomes important. They have the depth. They have a couple guys putting up 10+ points, 5+ rebounds a night. So what we look at in the Sportsline model when it comes to being successful in March is, can you travel on the road? Do you crumble when you travel? Can you shoot well from deep? And do you have experience? Do you have guys who have been here before? And Texas Tech is really, I'd call a Sportsline model darling, similar to Maryland here, but this is a team that we could see going a lot farther than Jerry implies.
With one of the best wins of the season, they went on the road into Houston and beat Kelvin Sampson's team, and that's the only loss Houston has in the Big 12 to this point. Let's move to a couple maybe surprising teams. You mentioned Arizona, but also Clemson on that 5 line. Clemson fits that mold. They beat Duke earlier on this season, and it's easy to forget they were an Elite Eight team last year.
This is a quiet team that no one's really talking about. You mentioned it. They beat Kentucky. They beat Duke. They beat SMU, which was a quad one win by 10 points. Like, this team is chugging along, and I just don't think maybe, again, kind of like the Penn State football analogy, maybe it's not the most exciting team ever, but this is another team with a solid record, solid experience as well, and I think this is a great undervalued team. Maybe you can look at them to go to the Final Four as well.
We will be talking to Caleb Love this hour, one of the stars in college basketball and the star for Arizona. What do you see from the Arizona Wildcats and their chances?
The only thing working against them to me is that the trends don't back them up as
Just
far as
they're
a
out
championship
west?
team. I mean, listen, we're talking about something that's happened 24 of 25 times this past year. Like, it is a great team, and I will say for them, you know, they're more battle tested than we've seen this team in the past. Now that they're not in the Pac-12, the Pac-12 had that, you know, a little bit of a soft reputation, if you will. Now we can see them play some of the more aggressive teams, go to a more competitive conference, and now we're seeing a more true version of them to get us ready for March, and it seems like it is going pretty well. So I will give them that benefit of the doubt that maybe this is the year we see that West Coast narrative kind of fall apart.
They have a home win over Iowa State thanks to a Caleb Love 60-footer to send that game into overtime. Iowa State is one of those teams that could be a 2 seed that is not in this group of 8. But there are a couple teams, though, that could fight for a 1 that aren't on here, and that's Alabama and Michigan State. Should we be wary of advancing them deep into our bracket?
I would be a little bit wary, especially in Michigan State. I just think there's better value. Like, you're seeing them be rewarded for some things, and teams with similar metrics and resumes like a Maryland be not as rewarded for that. I just think there's better looks when you're looking at value. Alabama, for me, it was all about last year. That was the time to get value on them. If we're talking about a betting perspective, you know, people have caught up to what Alabama could be, and yes, their defense is absolutely better than it was. It's still not awesome. They're still not in that championship mold. It's still around 40th here. So we have them as a top 10 seed. We just don't really have them as, you know, a top 4 team, and losing to Auburn at home obviously does not help your resume there.
All right, so 8 teams currently fitting that bill. We have 1 game left for most teams in the regular season. Some have 2. So those numbers could change a bit as we head into the conference tournament and then Selection Sunday, which is a week and a half away. Mackenzie Brooks from Sportsline. Speaking of conference tournament week, what's going on next Thursday and Friday?
Oh, yes. Me and my good friend Chip Patterson will be live from Fort Lauderdale, sweating out all types of college conference championship bets. We're going to be betting all day, all afternoon. We're going to have some guests in there. Hassel, you're more than welcome. We got some open chairs, but you can find me and Chip in our matching tracksuits from 3 to 5 on Thursday and Friday on YouTube.
I will be there next week for Championship Thursday and Friday. Thank you, Mackenzie.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you.
Big news coming out of the NFL. A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
With highlights.
What a finish at the final round of play.
And in-depth analysis.
Can they three-peat? Tony Romo joins the conversation.
What can you say about this game?
When you need your sports in a snap,
we're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
Find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.